Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. As we've been going through 1 Samuel and now we're entering into 2 Samuel, getting further into 2 Samuel, we find this tension between the old king and the new king. David had long been anointed as the new king and chosen as God's appointed king long before King Saul was ever killed. And there was tension the whole time that Saul was alive and David was alive. And that created a lot of tension, a lot of friction between David and Saul. And we find that even as we get into 2 Samuel and King Saul is already dead, there's still tension. Still, there is some remnants of those who were devoted to Saul who are rising up against him and want Ishbosheth, his son, to actually become king. And so we see that even though Saul's dead, there's still this time period in which this transition is taking place before David will finally be recognized as the king of not just Judah, but of all Israel. And this is very similar to what we experience in the spiritual life. Because when we come to Christ, it is already decided that Christ is the rightful king, that he's the one who should reign over our lives. He's the one that should rule our will and should direct our paths. And it's already been decided that Christ is going to be king. But how often is it the case that King Saul is still around? That is the old self. King Saul kind of represents the life of self. For one, because of the way that he was, or the way that he came about being king, he was the one that the people asked for, in a sense. He was the type of person that they were looking for. And so he was kind of the embodiment of their selfish desires to have a king like the other nations around them. But even he himself was very selfish in the way that he acted. And he was very interested in building his own kingdom and not so much interested in helping God build his own kingdom, God's kingdom in Israel. And so Saul becomes kind of the embodiment of what it means to live according to the self. However, King David was a man after God's own heart, and he becomes a picture of what it means to live for God and to have God rule as king. And of course, he's also a picture of the coming Messiah who would come as a descendant of his, who would really be the king and be the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And in our lives, we come to the Lord and he is the rightful king, but the self is still trying to build its own kingdom. The self within us is still trying to reign as king. And there's this transition period, what we call sanctification, in which there's this transition from the rule of self in our life to the rule of Christ in our life. And it's not until really our self is put to death, until we follow what Christ said when he says, if anyone should come after me, he must deny himself and pick up his cross and follow me. It's not until we are able to actually put self to death and recognize self as crucified with Christ that really Christ can really take hold of us and really become the rightful king. But of course, we even have to recognize, even after that takes place, there's still going to be some remnants of self evident. And I would say that probably until death, we'll always have remnants of self trying to creep in, trying to take over, the old self trying to be resurrected again and take over. But that's why it takes a daily commitment to say, no, today Jesus is king. Today Jesus is going to sit on the throne of my heart, and he's going to be the one who rules my actions and takes over my life. He's going to be the one that I center my thoughts on. He's the one that I'm going to center my life around, and he's going to be what I'm all about. And so that he can take his rightful place as king over my life. And so let's take this story about David and King Saul, and about David finally eventually getting to be the rightful king over Israel, and really think about it and reflect on it in connection to our spiritual life, and be encouraged to allow Saul to die within us and to let David take over and rule. Our old self put away, Christ placed on the throne, and let him rule our lives from this day forth. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we are reading today. For that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.